Hey guys, Chef Earl. How are you all? So today we are going to make refrigerator cookies. And I'm actually going to demo a sprinkle refrigerator cookie. I love to use these and have them on hand at all times because I never know, hey, my daughter may have one of her friends over and they want some cookies because who doesn't? Or it may be somebody's birthday and we have people over. This would be after the pandemic, but we would have people over and I have a cake, but I want to add some cookies to it as well. I just pull them out of my fridge or freezer and I'm ready to go. I don't have to worry about mixing something up quickly and trying to get it in the oven. All I have to do is slice and bake them, right? Just like the ones in the store. But let's be real. Homemade is the best. So here, let's start. You don't need to see my pretty face anymore, right? All right, so I have my oven preheated to 350. I have my butter already sat out. It's soft. I actually use margarine. You could use butter for your sugar cookies as well. I like how margarine kind of, sorry, can't do two things at once, fold and talk, I guess. I like how margarine holds up to the mixing or the creaming process. Remember when I said during notes how important the creaming process is and that you can ruin a batch of cookies so quickly if you over cream your dough. So I have my KitchenAid mixer, my KitchenAid Ronnie will be in use of our demo today. He's making his demo debut. And yes, to any parents that are watching, Chef Earl names all her KitchenAids. All right, so I have my butter. Here, let me play with this. Sorry. There you go. I have my butter in my KitchenAid mixer bowl. I have my granulated sugar that I'm going to add 1 cup of. Making a mess. There we go. And I'm just using one of my kitchen shears clean to level off because that's what I had right in front of me. My husband always makes fun of me when I do demos. If it's for the news or a company, I always use one tool that it's not even needed for that part. I've used a knife to mix stuff up with. I've used a kitchen shear to level stuff off with. So you know what? Whatever's in front of you, if it works, it works. So here's my softened butter. I'm adding my 1 cup of sugar to it. And then I'm going to use my paddle attachment. Now, remember, if you have a KitchenAid or a stand mixer, they come with 3 attachments, right? They come with the bread hook or the dough hook. They come with a paddle. And they come with a whisk. So today I'm asking for you all that are using stand mixers or hand mixers to use a paddle if you're going to make this. Now, for your all's final, I'm doing an either or type of project. Now I say final, I mean that very loosely, but you can either make a recipe of a dessert or cookie, or you can do a demo for a dessert or cookie. So if you guys want to do a demo for a type of refrigerator cookie, by all means, please do. All right, I'm going to move this over. You see what I'm doing? Excuse me. So I'm going to add my dough hook, or excuse me, I'm going to add my paddle. Well, Ronnie, come on. There we go. All right. I've got it locked into place, and I'm ready to start creaming. So I have it on stir right now. I'm going to let it go for a minute. I'm going to go ahead and crack my 2 eggs in my bowl. Now, I am watching my sugar at all times. It's like I said, it is so easy, to overcream it. I'm going to stop it right here, and I'm going to show you when I stop mixing when it comes to my cookies. Okay, so again, you can ruin a batch of cookies so quickly by just the first step alone, and that's over creaming your butter and your sugar. Do you see? Whoa! As I flick it onto the baking sheet, see how it's just now clumping? I mean, it's just incorporated together, meaning the sugar is attached to the butter or margarine, but it's not really creamy, right? I do not want it to be creamy at this point. I still have to mix everything else together. So it's going to cream after I add all my ingredients together. With cookies, adding every ingredient slowly, it does help have a nice batch of cookies. So I've done that for 2 minutes, maybe a minute and a half. I'm going to go ahead and lock it down again. I don't think my bowl was that locked in. There it is. All right. Now we're rolling. All right. I've locked it into place. I'm adding 1 egg, letting it go. Adding my next egg, allowing that to go. And when I say what I'm looking for is the egg to be yolk to kind of be broken up. I'm now going to add quickly my 2 teaspoons of vanilla. I'm going to stop it. Then I'm going to add my salt, which this one calls for kosher salt. You could use table salt, but since it was calling for kosher salt, I'm going to go ahead and add it. It's the thicker grain of salt. Here, I'll add. It's almost like big pieces of sugar. All right, so I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of my salt. I'm not doing it over the bowl because just then you can see I've over poured, and I would hate for my items to be over salty. Now, if you're using a salted butter, I would cut my salt down to a 1/2 teaspoon. Okay, but that's only if you're using salted butter. I'm also now going to add my baking soda, which is 1/2 teaspoon, which I already had it in here because of my mise en place, which is everything in a minute. Everything's ready to go. So I'm going to start the mixer again. All right, I've incorporated it. I'll show you guys. You can almost see my paddle. I don't even need to show you. That coloring. There we go. I'm now going to add my 3 cups of flour. However, I'm not going to just dump all of my flour in at once. This is all purpose. So here's my 1 cup. to lock it into place, and I'm going to stir again. I don't need to go over a stir level on my mixer, or a 1 if you're hand mixing it. Adding my second cup of flour. And adding my third cup of flour. Now, need to be careful. You can't see it. There is a bit of a plume of flour coming out. That's okay. That's why we do it 3 separate times. It also allows for the dough to be able to absorb our flour correctly. All right, you hear Ronnie. He's kind of starting to slow down a little. I think I renamed this man a couple of times. It's okay. There we go. This is beautiful. All right. I'm actually going to go ahead and take my paddle off. Get all of my dough off of the paddle as much as I can. Now, this is sugared cookie dough at this point in time. We could put types of filling in. I'm going to add sprinkles to it. Sugar cookie dough, though, is very particular. And if I start using my fingers to get the dough off, it'll start to warm up a little too much. So that's why I'm using my spatula as much as possible. And there we go. I'm going to set it off to the side, get my paddle out of the way. And here's my dough. I'm going to scrape down the sides. And flip my dough over, making sure that all the flour and everything is incorporated, which it is. And now I'm going to add 3/4 cup of sprinkles. So here's 1/4. I'm going to do this. What? How many times would I do this? If I need 3/4 and I'm using a 1/4 cup, I would need to do it 3 times, right? I wouldn't count that one though. Those were just a little extra. Excuse me. Opening a new container of sprinkles. I was hoping they would not explode all over me. All right. I'm just trying not to make a mess. Sprinkles. Here's my 2/4. So there's 1/2. And here is my 1/3. So there makes our 3/4 cup. Perfect. All right, moving those extra sprinkles out of the way. This little guy was on my baking sheet, so we will throw him in. All right. So I have my sprinkles, and now look how pretty that looks. I love sprinkles. Did you guys know that in New Jersey, New York, they're called jimmies? So if you went to a... Now I'm folding my sprinkles in. So I'm breaking up the dough a little bit and folding it over. Ooh, it's getting tough. Folding it over, pressing down just a tad bit, folding it over. Now, could you have used the paddle at this point? Yes. I just don't really like to use my KitchenAid to fold in ingredients, chips, sprinkles, nuts, fruits, whatever it may be. I'm always scared that I'll overmix it and then I've just ruined my cookies and all the work that I've put into it. So I always like to fold in my added ingredients. That would be chips, sprinkles, and whatnot. All right. So I am moving my baking sheet off to the side because I'm going to need to refrigerate these for 2 hours or to 24 hours. I have freezer paper right here that I'm going to use. Now, could you use parchment paper? For sure. Could you use plastic wrap? Yes, you could. I would try to use a parchment paper though. Sorry, I'm having technical difficulties over here with my freezer paper, but that's okay. All right. So I have my paper set out. And I'm going to show you guys how to roll up your refrigerator dough. I'm getting a small baking sheet, not to use to bake on right now, but more to use to roll up my dough. All right, so I'm using half my dough. Oh, probably a little over that. And I'm going to quickly kind of mold it into a, I don't want to overwork it too much, but into a log per se. Okay. Here. So I have my cookie dough, sugar cookie dough, sprinkle dough log that I've used my hands quickly on. I'm now going to push it over. So now it's covered. Okay, you see what I'm doing here? All right. So I actually, sorry, have it flipped over and I have this part right here as the edge, right? I need that edge. I'm going to now put my baking sheet pressed against my dough. I'm going to take that lip that I've left myself and I'm going to pull while I push the baking sheet towards me. I'm going to pull the paper and push the baking sheet to me. I've did that a few times and it helps kind of push out the dough that's in there into more of a consistent roll. There's not going to be one side thicker than the other at this point. I'm going to do it one more time. All right. So you can see there's my dough. And now all I'm going to do is roll it. Okay. We have our dough in the center. I'm going to pinch it off on each side. There we go. Tighten it up. And we have our refrigerator dough. Now, if you're using a couple different types of ingredients, say you do a sprinkled dough, then you do one with maybe chopped nuts in it, then you'll do another refrigerator dough that's just plain sugar, I would write on each one. That way you know you've labeled it and you don't have to unwrap it. Unwrapping them will just cause freezer burn and air to get into the dough, and it will actually sometimes, if you have a strong odor in your freezer, or say I freeze garlic in my freezer, sometimes it will take a hold of certain flavors and then your cookies just are not good. So I would label it and date it. Okay. I'm going to set this off to the side. I'm going to go and cut another piece of freezer paper. Now, why am I using freezer paper? I like to use freezer paper. Let's see if I can cut this a little. I did. A lot better than the first time. Okay. Why do I use freezer paper? Can you tell? Yeah. Freezer paper is shiny on one side and dull on the other. It's actually a silicone film to the shiny side. That way, if you were doing a meat, like a steak or a pork or chicken, you could wrap it up and it wouldn't freeze or stick to it. But you're still, freezer paper is a lot thicker and will help with cut down on freezer burn. I still, if I go to a butcher, will put it, my meat and it wrapped in freezer paper into the freezer, into a Ziploc baggie to ensure that it doesn't get freezer burn. But a lot of people will not freeze their meat from the butcher because it's fresh meat. Why would you want to do that? I, however, buy in bulk, so I do like to freeze a lot of my meats. All right, so I'm going to take the last bit, or the other half of my cookie dough, place it down, quickly maneuver it a little bit. Whoa. Man, that went far. I just like slung a piece of cookie dough all the way over to my desk, y'all. Mr. Mouse will have a field day with that. Hopefully I don't see him running across my floor. There we go. All right, I'm touching it too much. I want to lick my fingers so bad, but that is not Serve Safe certified. So I'm just going to go ahead and wash my hands. All right. Dry them off quickly. And then I'm just going to do what I just did again. I'm going to take, well, getting ahead of myself again. I'm going to wrap it up. Give it a little of a lip so I can hold on to it, right? Going to take my small baking sheet. Now, could I have used a large one? Yes. This is just more manageable. And I'm going to take my lip while pushing and pulling the paper while I'm pushing my baking sheet. There we go, giving that a nice little lip. So there's my, I've moved it. I can tell I'm only used to have this little bit. And now I have almost half the paper. And I'm going to keep rolling it. Again, you see the end. It's pretty yummy. I'm going to twist the sides. Looks like a Christmas popper. And then I will label what day I made it on and what it is. And then I'm going to stick these in my freezer or refrigerator for at least 2 hours, all the way up to 24 hours. I will actually allow these to be in my fridge for 24 hours. And then I will make them and bake them off in my next video. So I will see you guys in 24 hours. Bye, everyone. Thanks for being here. Hey, guys, Chef Earl. So I've let my sprinkled dough cookies sit in the deep freezer for 2 hours. So they are nice and hard, just like I would if I let them rest for 24 hours. Whoa, sorry for the shaking. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to slice into them and place them on my parchment lined baking sheet. So I'm going to roll it out. Nice little log right there. And I'm actually going to cut it on the paper. You don't have to, but I may not use all this dough, so that's why I'm going to do that. And then that way I can wrap it back up again. So I'm going to start in the center and cut it down in the center. I'm doing this so that I have nicely shaped cookies on either side. If I went here, I would still have a funky cookie at the end. The top might be a little funky. I'm trying to saw it down. I'm trying not to put too much pressure on my cookie. So then that way I'm not pressing down the cookie where the shape's a little off. So we have our nice little inch and a half cookies right here. There you go. So you can get that in the frame. And I'm leaving space between to allow my cookies to spread a little, because they will. That's okay. Now, if you have this parchment lined baking sheet, most parchment paper will have squares or a grid system. I don't know if you can kind of tell. I don't know if the lighting's doing it, but it will help. You can use that as your guide on how to space out your cookies. I usually do them in their own little square. I am going to use up all this dough. I said I was only going to use half. But you know what? I love my kiddos, so they get some to take home. Ooh, is this enough for me to snack on? No. Remember, Miss Chef Earl, cookie dough is not good to eat raw, right? Right. Salmonella and E. coli. Salmonella in the raw egg and E. coli in the flour. Did you know that? All right, we'll just kind of toss that away, right? Mm-hmm. All right, there we go. Nice sliced cookies, all pretty much the same. These two are a little thinner, so I'll have to watch those when I bake them off at 350 for 15 minutes, and then they'll be ready to go. You'll see a picture of my final product in just a moment.